somebody wrote in with a question here. And they said, we understand that a person's karma will determine not only their rebirth and the suffering or happiness that results, when they're reborn, but also sometimes in this present lifetime. From our side, we were wondering if prayers, both individually and collectively, actually help mitigate some of that karma, meaning the karma, that could ripen in this lifetime or in future lifetimes. And so this is a couple who's writing it. And so one person thinks that prayers help, the other one has some doubts. Okay. And then they said that they were watching a video by Venerable Priyadarshi, and somebody asked him if their prayers would help prevent a loved one from being born in a lower realm, and his answer was no. On the other hand, the part of the couple that wrote this said, I personally feel like my experiences in life, in both praying to others and others praying for me, do help. Okay. If Buddhist prayers and mantras do help, in what way do they help? Yeah, so my thoughts are that it's both the person's karma and our prayers, thoughts and mantra and so forth, that will shape that person's experience. But it is mostly their karma that will determine the results of their actions. Still, I do feel as if prayers are not a waste of time and have some significant value for both our prayers, ourselves and others. Okay, so my view happens to be very much the same as his, that it's principally the person's karma, but that our prayers for them or their prayers for themselves can add an extra little push in a good direction. Yeah. But if the person hasn't created the karma, then you can pray up and down, but there's nothing to work with. So as an old joke it's a bad joke, but anyway, it illustrates it. Somebody's praying to the Buddha, 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 may I please win the lottery? And then they hear Buddha say, buy a ticket. Yeah, meaning that if you don't have a ticket, what can the Buddha do to help you win the lottery? In the same way, if we haven't exerted energy in creating the proper karma, then there's nothing, that the prayers can work with, okay? If you don't plant seeds, you can put water and fertilizer, but nothing's going to grow, okay? So the karma is important. On the other hand, I think that prayers and dedications for other people are important, and they can be beneficial to the people. So I think what it does, my idea of how it works, is it's like sets up a good ambience around that person so that their own positive karma has an opportunity to ripen. I also think that a lot of times when we do prayers, for example, for people who are passed away, that it actually helps the living people who are mourning. It may help them more than the people who have died, because it helps them in their grieving. They want to express their love and care and affection for somebody. They want to send that person off with good wishes for their future life. And so in that way, doing prayers and pujas helps them to do that and to feel like they're contributing to the well-being of somebody who's deceased. And like I said, then I think it also creates a good ambience, around that person, so that if they have created some good karma, then that good ambience can really help them. Yeah. But as I always tell people, the best way to help your loved ones is when they're alive, and encourage them to abandon non-virtue and create virtue when they're alive. Yeah. Otherwise, if with your friends and relatives, you encourage them to lie to cover up things that you don't want them to know, or you join them in talking badly and gossiping about other people, or you join them in creating disharmony or uttering harsh words, then if you encourage them to create non-virtue when they're alive, then why are you praying for them after they've died? You should have done something while they were alive to help them, and which means improving ourselves so that we can become better examples and better Dharma friends to other people. Yeah. In terms of our family, it completely depends on if they're open or not. Some family members are open and some aren't. But from our side, we do what we can, but we don't become preachy with family members. That doesn't work very well. Okay. So I think that answers the question, okay? Anybody have anything? Mm-hmm.
So if we are praying for somebody,
Mm-hmm.
in my mind, though, that would seem like that person has created the karma to be prayed for. Because there's so many people who are going in trouble, who die, and nobody prays for them. Well, they haven't created the karma for somebody to pray for them.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like it does provide a little bit of an opening. They've created the karma for somebody to pray for them. And it provides a little bit of an opening to have that prayer, like you said, support their already existing karma to ripen.
Yeah. And it's also, I think it helps people when they know other people are praying for them. It gives them, some courage in the situation, some feeling that other people are on their side and wishing them well. And we all want that, don't we? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think it's helpful for the people who are mourning someone to have instruction in how to have their minds be.
Yeah.
And doing prayers and everything helps the person to do that. Also, the perspective that we take. One thing that I was struck by recently, you know how with a lot of times with inmates, people just kind of categorize them based on one event in their life. And I think the same thing can happen when a person dies, because sometimes that could be a traumatic experience. And then the person grieving, almost their minds can get fixated on that.
Yeah.
And it's not accurate to judge any person or to hold any person in the view of some small experience in their life.
Yeah.
People are very multidimensional and have long life experiences, but our minds can latch on to things.
Right.
So I think...
Yeah, so the prayers can help open the mind of somebody who's grieving, especially if their loved one died in an accident or foul play or something like that. Their mind gets stuck in that way. And then the pujas and the prayers really help them see, oh, this person has a whole big life, and to focus on their good qualities as well.
What I say in my own personal practice, making prayers for maybe my own spiritual aspirations too has been very helpful in thinking about cause and effect, or what are the causes I need to create. So back in the day when I was like, I want to ordain, and then the teacher I was studying with said, well, pray for your spiritual obstacles to be removed and to meet a good spiritual mentor. I was like, why pray for those things? Because I was so new to Buddhism, but it got me thinking like, oh, why is it important to have a good spiritual mentor? What are spiritual obstacles? And then, you go from there.
Right. Yeah. So you notice that in many of our pujas that we do, we're requesting things, we're praying things, we're asking for blessings and inspiration. Those are all types of prayers. And what that does is it helps us state what our spiritual aspirations are and the conditions that we need to fulfill them. And in doing that, we get clear in our own mind, like you said, What is the path? What do we need to do? Why are those things important? What are the realizations we want to attain? And so voicing those in the manner of a prayer helps our own mind get very clear. And like you said, helps us think about what the elements are that we need to work on and that we also need to set up for ourselves in terms of a good environment. Yeah. And so prayer, when we do prayers like that in terms of our own practice, what they actually do is they steer our mind in a positive direction. Yeah. And so that is important to do, when you have your mind's acting up and your mind's being full of turmoil, or you have a special problem with something, to really, make prayers to be able to eliminate it and to have clarity about the teachings so that you can apply the teachings and diminish this obstacle and eventually eliminate it. And doing prayers like that in terms of your own practice is very, very helpful. Yeah, because it makes our mind clear, it energizes our mind. Yeah. And it counteracts the mind that says, oh, well, I have these problems, what can I do? Blah. Yeah. Okay. So you can see in her case, the prayers worked. She got ordained. Her teacher in Singapore also told her to go do prostrations to purify, and she did that, and that worked too. Yeah.